Welcome, today's story is full of drama. Like and subscribe to stay updated. Let's get started.
The sky hung heavy with dark clouds and the forecast promised rain, but Mia Callahan stood at the bus stop with a bright smile on her face. As she waited, she glanced at the storefronts behind her. With summer just around the corner, window displays were filled with beachwear, sundresses, and sandals. For years, she had dreamed of escaping to some exotic destination. She had been diligently saving every bit of change and the few extra $100 left at the end of each month. With a wistful sigh, she turned back toward the street, watching for the bus. "Excuse me," Mia said, startled. Just as the bus pulled up, she realized she had bumped into someone. Before she could react, a rush of people surged past her, eager to board. She tried to move with the crowd but was shoved aside. As she found an opening, an unexpected elbow jabbed into her back, sending her stumbling forward. "Careful there," a deep voice said nearby. "I'm so sorry. Someone knocked into me, and I lost my balance," Mia explained. Turning toward the voice, she found herself face to face with a man standing close enough for her to catch the scent of his spicy cologne. His hazel eyes held intriguing flecks of amber, and he smiled as she realized her hand had landed on his chest. "Forgive me, I didn't mean to," she started, only for him to speak at the same time. "Are you all right?" he asked with genuine concern. Mia paused, blushing slightly, and offered a small smile as she let him go first. "Let's try this again," he said with a grin. "Are you sure you're okay? That looked like it might have hurt." "I'm fine, and thank you for being in the right place for me to catch myself," she replied with a playful grin. "You're welcome. I always try to be helpful, especially for a pretty lady like you," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Thank you," she murmured. He glanced toward the street and then back at her. "Looks like you missed that bus. I hope you don't have an important appointment or a hot date waiting on you." "No, I'm just going home," she replied. "What a coincidence. That's where I'm going," he told her. Mia heard the sounds of the next bus as it approached and tried to think of something more to say. She wanted to find out if he was married or taken. He intrigued her. "I don't mean him going to your house, of course, although that could have possibilities too." The look he gave her as he spoke was full of innuendo. But I have rules about taking strangers home with me," Mia laughed. "Rules? Maybe I can abide by them if you explain them to me. It's very simple. Today is Friday, and I only bring strangers home on Saturdays." Mia winked as she gave her answer. "They'll be here tomorrow then," he came right back with. They both laughed as the bus pulled up to the curb. Mia took a step toward the line but stopped when she felt a hand on her arm. "Wait, have dinner with me." "But you don't even know me or if I'm married or even engaged." She hesitated even as she wanted to say yes. Some instinct told her to take a chance. "Are you?" He arched an eyebrow as he asked the simple question. "Well, no, but I could have been. Today is Friday, and that means I'm only allowed to meet beautiful single ladies," he deadpanned. Mia burst out laughing at the statement. Neither noticed the bus leave while they talked. "Then I guess that makes us even since I make it a practice to only fall into handsome men on Fridays." "Ah, but you forgot to ask the all-important question," he watched Mia as he spoke. "That depends on which question you're referring to. On Sunday, I would ask if you're available or not. But it's Friday, and I never ask a Sunday question first. Besides, it's easy to tell you're single." She grinned when his brows furrowed. "No wedding ring, right?" "I didn't look for that," Mia told him truthfully. "Then it must be the desperate look on my face when I asked you to dinner." "Well, that was cute," she replied, but nodded either. "I'm not doing so well guessing, am I?" Mia chuckled at the sad look he pasted on his face. He reminded her of a little boy that didn't get his way and was pouting. "It's your coat. You have a button missing," Mia explained. "Oh yeah, that came off a few months ago. What does it have to do with being married or single, though?" His hand went to the missing space as he spoke. "Simple. If you were married, your wife would have made sure it was sewn back on." Mia noticed the way his eyes sparkled just before he tipped his head back and laughed. She saw a tiny scar under his chin and wondered for a moment how he acquired it. An image of him falling off his bicycle at a young age flashed past her. "So, I gave it away myself and didn't even know it. You have a good eye for detail. And yes, I'm single, totally available, and house-trained. Now, will you have dinner with me?" "Well, I do need to eat sometime, and it's really too nice out to go home," Mia hedged. "Nice? It looks like it will rain anytime." "I love the rain," she remarked. "There's a great little place just up the block. We could walk there, and you would still be close to your bus stop to get home." He pointed behind Mia as he spoke. Don't you think there's something we should do first? Mia asked. She smiled at the man as he crossed his arms. Mia could almost read his mind as he seemed to be thinking of what she was referring to with her question. Mia. And it might be easier to share dinner if I knew your name as well, she explained. That's so true. Mia, let me introduce myself properly then. I'm Ethan Wells, also known as EW to some people. You're the DJ? If I say yes, are you going to leave? Ethan asked her. Of course, I won't leave because of that. I listen to your show every morning. You're so funny. Thanks. My mom thinks so too. Mia and Ethan began the short walk to the restaurant as he spoke. When they approached the door, he stopped before opening it. Wait a minute, Mia. You do remember this is Friday, right? Ethan gave her a stern look. We came to that conclusion earlier, I thought, she agreed. On Fridays, I like to know more than the first name of my dinner companion. I see, Mia remarked. Mia Callahan, Secretary Extraordinaire. Ethan smiled and looked straight into her eyes. Extraordinaire in many things, I'm guessing. I'm not really anything special, Ethan. Just a normal person doing my best at a boring job. Somehow I doubt that. But I hope to have lots of time to discover all the facets of Mia Callahan, he told her as he opened the door for her. Mia and Ethan began the short walk to the restaurant as he spoke. When they approached the door, he stopped before opening it. Wait a minute, Mia. You do remember this is Friday, right? Ethan gave her a stern look. We came to that conclusion earlier, I thought, she agreed. On Fridays, I like to know more than the first name of my dinner companion. I see, Mia remarked. Mia Callahan, Secretary Extraordinaire. Ethan smiled and looked straight into her eyes. Extraordinaire in many things, I'm guessing. I'm not really anything special, Ethan. Just a normal person doing my best at a boring job. Somehow I doubt that. But I hope to have lots of time to discover all the facets of Mia Callahan, he told her as he opened the door for her. They both turned when the hostess came to check their seating preference. She led them to a corner table that overlooked the deck. Ethan held Mia's chair for her before taking a seat to her right. I've never been here before, Ethan. It's lovely. Yes, very lovely. His eyes never left her face as he spoke. Mia caught him staring at her and blushed. She remained quiet as the server brought menus and told them the day's specials. After they gave their beverage order and the server was gone, Ethan sat back, cleared his throat, and smiled at Mia. Thank you for agreeing to dinner, Mia. I know you took a chance, and I assure you I'm perfectly harmless. I've never done this before, she admitted quietly. Never gone to dinner with a man? Mia laughed and relaxed. I don't make it a habit of letting strangers pick me up at the bus stop, Mia explained. But you knew my name, so I wasn't a stranger any longer. A stretch, but true, Mia conceded. For the next several minutes, they talked about the weather as they perused their menus. Their server returned and asked for their dinner order. After a recommendation from the young man assisting them, they agreed on what to eat, and he left them alone once more. Ethan took in the stylish clothes and mannerisms of the fascinating woman in front of him. He found that he wanted to know everything about her tonight, not just the few casual revelations made on first dates. As he watched her sip her drink, he knew that he wanted there to be many more to follow. So, tell me, how did you get to be a famous DJ? Mia asked. I always loved the concept of radio and how it reaches out to people. When I was in college, I interned at the school station, picking up odd shifts as I learned the business. That was a lot of stations and cities ago, but I still enjoy it, he explained to her. It seems like a good way to connect with the public, but I could never talk like that. I'd struggle to find important things to say. The key is listening to everyone else. I find the best topics from observing people, Ethan replied. For instance, right now I'm thinking I could make an entire show from how we met. As a waiter brought their meal to them, the conversation stopped and Mia took the time to look at Ethan. He was joking with the waiter about music and radio stations. They were discussing a local event put on by the station Ethan worked for when an older man stopped at their table. EW, you've been keeping something from me, I see. Are you the disc jockey? The young waiter's eyes grew wide as he realized just who Ethan was. He is, kid. 5 hours every day he regales the city with his wit and charm, the man confirmed. Bill, I'd like you to meet Mia Callahan. Mia, this is Bill Harper, one of my bosses at the station, Ethan explained as he introduced them. Hello, Bill. It's nice to meet you, Mia told the newcomer. I'm pleased to meet you, Mia, Bill replied. Boy, my friends are never going to believe me when I tell them who I met. The young man clearly had a case of hero worship as he looked at Ethan. Mia was impressed with the way Ethan handled the young man. She watched as the three talked a minute before they all shook hands and the waiter walked back to the kitchen. "Enjoy your dinner, you two," Bill told them. "Thank you," Mia replied politely. Ethan turned to Mia and apologized for the interruption. They chatted as they returned to their meals. Mia was soon laughing at some of the stories Ethan shared from his radio show. Ethan leaned forward in his chair as soon as their meals were finished. "Do you want any dessert, or are you ready to go?" "No dessert for me. The meal was delicious and I'm full," Mia told him. Ethan motioned for their server and took care of the bill. Mia noticed that he treated everyone in a friendly manner, a trait that appealed to her. He stood and went around to her side of the table to hold her chair as she got up. They walked to the door together, a striking couple to everyone that saw them. As soon as they were outside, the clouds opened up and a light rain began. Mia stopped in the middle of the sidewalk and tipped her head up. Drops of rain ran down her cheeks and into her neck. She laughed and stuck her hands out to catch some of the rain. "You're beautiful," Ethan said as he watched her. Mia stopped and just stared at Ethan. The truth of his words was in his eyes. "It's raining," she stated. "I'm getting wet." "What rain?" They stood in the rain and smiled at each other. The few people that braved the weather walked around them, shaking their heads at the couple standing, oblivious to the rain. "I want to see you again, Mia." "I'd like that, Ethan. We better get to the corner so you don't miss the next bus." He touched her arm lightly as he spoke. Mia's skin tingled from the heat of his hand through her sweater. She heard the bus pull up down the block but ignored it, choosing to stay where she was. "There will be another one." "I don't have any reason to hurry home," Mia admitted. "Would you like to walk for a while then?" "The rain is letting up already. I could run into one of the stores here and buy an umbrella if you prefer." "A walk sounds perfect, but you're right, the rain is letting up, so no umbrella is necessary," Mia said. Ethan reached for her hand, holding it loosely as they walked. They strolled down the sidewalk in a comfortable silence. When someone appeared in their path, he gently pulled her closer. After wandering for several blocks, they eventually turned back. "The bus should be here in a few minutes. You need to get home and change into something warm so you don't catch a cold," Ethan said. "I'm not that wet, but I should go. Tomorrow is another work day." "Yeah, I have to be up at 4 a.m. for my morning show." "Ethan, you should have reminded me sooner. We didn't have to walk so much," she replied. "I was having a good time and didn't want to go," he admitted to her. "It was nice," she remarked. "Look, here's the bus. You better get in line. Thank you for having dinner with me, Mia." Just as she started to speak, the bus driver tooted the horn, and she found herself caught in the small group hurrying to board the bus. Mia climbed the steps and took the first window seat she found. Ethan was still standing where she left him. He waved at her and smiled as the bus took off. Mia was in a great mood when she finally got home. She hummed as she took care of her damp clothes and prepared for bed. The book she took with her held no interest as her mind returned to Ethan and the way they met. There was a smile on her face as she went to sleep, remembering hazel eyes with amber flecks. The sun was shining when Mia opened her eyes in the morning. She looked at the time and quickly turned the radio on to the station Ethan worked at. His morning show still had a few hours, and she didn't want to miss any of it. Ethan and his partner were asking their listeners to call in. Mia wondered what the discussion was about while she hurried through her shower. When she got out, they were just welcoming another caller. Mia sat down to hear what they had to say. "I met my girlfriend at the airport EW. We were stuck in Seattle from a massive snowstorm overnight. All the other passengers were complaining about the delay, but when I noticed her, she was just reading. Whenever I looked her way, she had a smile and looked happy. I walked over and commented on the book she had, and the rest is history," the male caller explained. "Thanks for sharing your story, and I wish you much happiness together. Let's hear from one more caller before we break." Ethan told the listeners. "Hi, EW. I wanted to tell you about how I met my husband." In a taxi, the next caller began. "I was running late for an appointment across town. The taxi finally pulled over, and I started to get in. From the other side, this man was sliding in. We argued over who was going to get the taxi when the driver asked where we were going. It ended up that we both were going to the same block, so he told us to share or get out." "What happened next, caller?" "During the ride, we continued to argue over which one of us had been there first. We both stopped and laughed at the stupidity of it. After my meeting, he was waiting outside the building to apologize. That was 8 years ago, and we have been married almost 7 years now." She finished with her story. Congratulations and thanks for calling in, Ethan said. More stories after the break, including one that is extra special. Mia grabbed some fruit during the break and hurried back to catch the next story. She thought about trying to get through and call herself since the topic seemed to be meeting someone in odd places, but decided to wait and hear the next caller first. Welcome back, everyone. This is EW, and today I'm asking anyone who met their partner while traveling or commuting to share their story with us. Before we go to another listener, I want you to hear this. Ethan paused, and Mia stopped eating as she waited. I met the most beautiful woman at a bus stop last night. Even though it was dreary out, she was smiling and cheery. She fell into my arms, and my life changed right there. We even had dinner together. But I made a mistake, Ethan told the audience. Mia dropped into a chair as she heard him say he made a mistake. She had been so sure he enjoyed himself as much as she did. What had she read wrong? You see, I was pretty stupid last night. That's right, I made one of the dumbest mistakes ever. I didn't get her phone number before she left, he went on to explain. With his admission, Mia's smile returned and she reached for the telephone. If she could only get through to the station now, she had a plan. When the direct line to Ethan was busy after several tries, she looked up the number for the main office and dialed. When the receptionist came on, Mia gave her name and asked for Bill. After a brief discussion with the boss, Mia heard her line connect to the show. Several minutes later, she heard Ethan on her radio. We have another caller ready to tell us how they met someone special. Go ahead, caller, you're on. I wanted to tell you how I met someone that I hope will be a part of my life now, Mia said. Where did you meet this person and what made it special for you? Ethan asked. Mia could tell that he hadn't recognized her voice yet. She took a moment to get her thoughts in order. He has these gorgeous hazel eyes with amber flecks. Someone pushed me into his arms at the bus stop yesterday. For some reason, I took the chance when he asked me to dinner. But I made a mistake, you see, because I got onto the bus to go home and forgot to give him my phone number, Mia continued. Lucky for me, he told me where he worked, she added. Mia? Ethan answered. Here's a song for all the happy couples to listen to while I take another break. Mia heard the beginning of the song and grinned. The words came through loud and clear. She waited for Ethan to take her call and sang along to Bus Stop by the Hollies. Mia barely hung up the phone after talking to Ethan when it rang. Thinking it was going to be him, she quickly answered. Did you forget something, Mia? Oh, sorry, Mom. I thought you were going to be someone else. Mia checked the time as she explained. Mia, was that you on the radio station this morning? Her mom asked. What station are you talking about, Mom? She smiled as she thought about the private conversation she had with Ethan. Mia made sure that he had her telephone number this time. She wasn't quite ready to share anything about Ethan with her mom. Though, I'm your mother, Mia Callahan, and I know my own daughter's voice. Did you let a strange man take you to dinner last night? Mom, do you really think I would go somewhere with a stranger? Mia crossed her fingers that her mom would believe her. I raised you to be a good girl, her mom explained. Yes, Mom, I know you did. I really have to leave for work now. Don't use that excuse with me. It's not an excuse, Mom. I have an important meeting in a little while and can't be late, Mia told her. You call me after work and tell me about this new man, her mom demanded. When I have a new man to talk about, I'll be sure to let you know. I love you, Mom, Mia said. I'll be waiting for your call. Mia heard the demanding tone in her mom's voice. With a few minutes to spare, Mia walked into her office, checked messages, and grabbed her notes for the meeting. The first thing she heard as she walked down the hallway was Ethan telling a listener a funny story. She smiled as she realized that some of the office personnel listened to him too. 2 hours later, the meeting was over, and Mia returned to her desk. A huge bouquet of flowers was sitting on the corner. She reached for the tiny card tucked into the greens and sat down to read it. The note was short but so sweet that she felt her heart speed up. Scrolled in big letters were the words, Bus Stop, the Hollies. Ethan Mia thought about how close their introduction fit the lyrics and smiled. At the end of the day, Mia tried to figure out how to get the bouquet home. The day was windy and it was about 6 blocks to her bus stop. The flowers would be tattered before they made it home. With a sigh, she accepted that they would have to remain on her desk for the night. She took the card from her desk drawer and slid it into her purse before closing the door and making her way to the elevators. Mia smiled as the wind caught her coat. The clouds in the sky promised more rain, but she didn't care. The weather had always intrigued Mia, even as a child when she watched the storms from her bedroom window. Everyone around her was worried about the lightning or the wind, but she would sneak outside and sit on the porch. The beauty was what she saw then, as she did today. Less than a block from the corner, Mia saw Ethan in a group waiting for the crosswalk sign to change. She picked up her pace and almost jogged toward him. When it was okay for him to cross, he looked up and spotted Mia. Ethan grinned as he, too, almost ran. About 10 feet away, Mia stopped and let Ethan come to her. "Thank you for the flowers," she began. "They're gorgeous. There's a florist on the corner by the station. I saw the bright colors and knew they were for you." They stood there with the crowd splitting around them. Neither paid attention to anything but each other. "I enjoyed dinner last night," Mia told him. "So did I. Will you join me again tonight?" "I can't tonight, or maybe go see a movie," Ethan added as she spoke. "We seem to have a habit of talking at the same time," she pointed out. "You go first," Ethan offered. "My mom heard me on your show this morning and called before work. She'll be leaving messages every few minutes until I answer the phone." "I understand. At least I have a few minutes with you here at the bus stop," he reminded her. They stood together and talked quietly. Mia laughed at the stories he told her about his listeners. She was sure he embellished the facts. The innocent look he gave her when she accused him of it brought tears to her eyes. She heard the bus approaching, and for a few seconds, thought about waiting for the next one. However, the thought of explaining to her mother followed. So Mia turned and began to walk toward the stop. "Can I call you sometime? I'll be out of town for a couple of days. But when I return, I'd like you to have dinner with me again," Ethan said. "You can call me any evening. I rarely go away." "Then it's time to change that, Mia. Have a safe trip, Ethan." "I look forward to your calls, and I'll miss you," she admitted. Ethan looked at her as if he wanted to say more, just as the bus driver tooted the horn. With one last smile, Mia turned and joined the group of people boarding the bus. She was disappointed when she couldn't find an empty window seat this time. All during the ride to the stop near her home, Mia went over the conversation she had with Ethan. It had been a long time since she had met anyone who got to her the way he did. She was in such a good mood that she forgot about her mom's phone call until she walked inside her house and noticed the red light blinking on her answering machine. Before she even hit the play button, Mia dialed her mom's number and waited for her to answer. "Mia, is that you?" "Hello, Mom. It's me. I just walked in from work. Isn't it a gorgeous day?" Mia hoped she could distract her mom. "Don't try that with me, Mia Callahan. Now tell me about this strange man you had dinner with." "Mom, I'm over 30, not a child." "You don't have to worry about me," Mia stalled. "Mia Callahan, I know every one of your tactics to get out of answering a question. You might as well tell me the truth. I went to dinner with a really nice man last night. His name is Ethan, and he's a DJ. That's all there is to tell, Mom," Mia sighed as she gave in. "So it was you on that radio station this morning?" Her mom deduced. "It's a talk show, Mom, where people call in. You take him to meet me soon, Mia, so I can see for myself." "Mom, I don't even know if he'll call me. We went to dinner and he walked me back to the bus stop," Mia explained. "I have to start some dinner, so I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay? Just remember to bring him here so I can make sure he's good enough for my baby." "Bye, Mom," Mia said as she hung up. Mia loved her mom, she really did, but at times it was irritating to listen to her. She pushed the play button as she sat there and listened to the messages on the machine. It didn't surprise her that the first ones were from her mom. She was ready to delete them all when she heard Ethan's voice next. "Mia, I was hoping you would be home, but I guess I'll just call back after my meeting here. This trip is going to go so slow." She thought about the next couple of days. Already, she missed Ethan, and she hardly knew him. Yet it felt so right to be with him. Mia smiled as she finished preparing and eating dinner. While she did the few dishes, she hummed along with the Hollies, thinking of Ethan. The evening went by slowly for Mia. She curled up on the sofa with the latest romance novel in her lap. Minutes passed without her opening it as she thought back to her first meeting with Ethan. It amazed her how easy he was to talk to. Of course, talking was what he did all day. As the book slid out of her hands, she fell into a light sleep, dreaming of Ethan. The ringing of the telephone woke her just as her dream had Ethan proposing to her. She blushed at the memory as she picked up the receiver and heard his voice. "Mia, I'm so glad I caught you this time. The meeting went on forever, and I was afraid you would be asleep," Ethan told her. "I was relaxing and, reading." "Reading anything good?" he asked. It's probably not anything you would find interesting, she hedged. Let me guess, it's one of those love stories most women enjoy, Ethan chuckled. Okay, yes it is. But I already knew you were a romantic, Mia. How did you know that, Ethan? I didn't tell you. You didn't have to, he replied. What was it then? It was raining the first time we met, but you were smiling and enjoying it, Ethan explained. Rain is so peaceful and beautiful, Mia responded. The forecast calls for sunshine Saturday, and I'm hoping you don't have any plans then. Well, you know what Saturday is, Mia joked. I believe it's the day after Friday, Ethan guessed. Saturday is always kept open for handsome men who catch me from falling, she laughed. That's what I like to hear. How does a trip to the zoo sound? It would be perfect, Ethan. I love going to the zoo. I'll call you when I get back into town and set up final plans, Ethan said. Okay, Ethan. I'll wait for your call. I hope the rest of your trip goes well, Mia replied. The meetings are boring, Mia, but I'll be back before you know it. After Mia hung up, she lounged on the sofa with the radio playing in the background. When the Vogues began to sing their hit, You're the One, Mia smiled and sang the words with them. She sensed that Ethan was going to be an important part of her life. As she got ready for bed, she thought ahead to the zoo trip and wondered if he liked animals as much as she did. The last image in her mind as she fell asleep was Ethan. The next morning, Mia had the radio on as she got ready for work. The afternoon DJ was covering for Ethan while he was gone. Though he was good, it wasn't the same without Ethan's voice coming from her speakers. It didn't take her long to arrive at work since she lived only a few miles away. Her days were ordinary, but Mia's co-workers liked her, so the day went quickly. When she got home, the first thing Mia did was check her answering machine. The lack of any messages at all was a bit disappointing. She had hoped Ethan found time to call during a break from his meetings. However, she went on with fixing a light dinner and tidying up afterward. As the evening went on and the telephone remained silent, Mia admitted that Ethan wouldn't be calling anymore. With a touch of sadness, she went to bed. Friday went on the same as any other day for Mia. Her boss had a special project he requested just before she left for the weekend that took extra time to finish. Ethan was due home today, and she really didn't want to miss his call. By the time she had the work done, it was over an hour and a half later than she normally left for the day. Mia closed up her desk and walked to her car with a smile, anticipating hearing from him. The only message on her machine was from her mother. Mia returned the call but planned to keep it short so she wasn't on the phone if Ethan called. Hello, Mom. It's about time you returned my call, Mia, her mother admonished. I had to work late, Mom. My boss had a project for me that needed to be done. Did you hear from that man again? His name is Ethan and he'll call. I know he will, Mia responded with a smile. Are you coming over this weekend? Her mom asked. Ethan asked me about going to the zoo tomorrow, but maybe Sunday. I'll let you know after I hear back from him. Okay? They talked a few minutes more until Mia said she needed to get some dinner. Not being very hungry, she made a salad, grabbed her novel and sat down to eat. Several minutes later, the ringing of the telephone startled her. She closed her book and picked up the receiver as it rang a third time. Hello? Mia answered. Mia, it's so good to hear your voice. As soon as the last meeting was over, I headed home so I could call you, Ethan admitted. Hi, Ethan. I'm glad you called. Was the trip a success? I have some new ideas for the show from them, so yes, it was good, Ethan told her. That's great. It will be fun to hear you implement them. So, do you still want to go to the zoo tomorrow? Ethan asked. It's going to be a beautiful day for it. I'm looking forward to it, Ethan. What time are we going? Mia inquired. How about if I pick you up at 10 a.m. and we make a day of it? I'll be ready. Perfect. Have a great night, Mia, and I'll see you then, Ethan replied. Ethan, don't you think there's something you should ask me before you hang up? Mia questioned. Well, we set the time and the place. What's left? Ethan asked. You're going to pick me up, right? I'll be there at 10, he remarked. Where, Ethan? Mia laughed. I guess I need your address, Ethan chuckled. I can't believe I forgot that. After Mia gave her address and a few simple directions to Ethan, they said their goodbyes and hung up. She smiled and went about her evening chores, already anticipating their date. As she did the laundry, she thought about what to wear. He hadn't mentioned going anywhere besides the zoo, but she wanted to look good enough in case they went to dinner afterward. When the house was back in order, she took her book, put in a CD, and went to bed. Her mind kept going to Ethan, and so the book went unopened. With the music playing softly in the background, she smiled, closed her eyes, and went to sleep. After her shower the next morning, Mia fixed some toast and coffee. There were several places throughout the zoo where she could get snacks if she got hungry. By the time she was dressed and ready to go, it was almost 10 a.m. She wasn't surprised when the doorbell rang right on time. "Ethan." "Good morning, Mia," he said as she opened the door and saw him standing there. "Hello, Ethan. You look fantastic." "Thanks," she replied with a smile. "Let me grab my purse, and I'm ready to go." Ethan talked about his last trip to the zoo while she locked the door. She laughed on the drive over there and soon added a few stories of her own. They had to park quite a distance from the entrance as it seemed everyone else thought it was a good place to be today as well. Ethan reached out and held her hand as they made their way to the admission gate. "I love coming here." "I'm so glad you thought of it," Mia told him. "It's been a while since I was here. The exotic animals are my favorite to watch. Something about the way they carry themselves even though they are in captivity gets to me," he admitted. "The monkeys are one of my favorites. When they start showing off, I can't help but burst out laughing." "Well, let's get a map and make sure we see all of them." "Do you have to be home early?" Ethan asked. "I'm yours all day long," Mia replied. The look Ethan gave her told her a lot. His eyes sparkled with desire. She felt the heat from them as he slowly leaned over and gave her a brief kiss. Before she could respond, he straightened up, touched her cheek with his thumb, and smiled. "You're so beautiful. Thank you for agreeing to spend the day with me, Mia." Mia looked into his eyes and tried to convey her feelings to him. Even though they had just met, she knew he was special. "You're welcome, Ethan," she answered. "Now let's go check out what's new here. Which way should we go first?" They started at the aquarium and wandered through to the reptiles. Mia walked up to the glass enclosures and talked to the animals there as if they were pets. Ethan watched as her enthusiasm exploded when they finally made it to see the monkeys. "Ethan, look. She's talking to me," Mia told him with a grin. "And just what is she telling you?" "She said that if I don't watch out, she's going to steal my date," Mia joked. "Oh, I might have some say in that," he remarked. The day flew by as they checked out every exhibit. They munched on popcorn and washed it down with ice-cold lemonade. Ethan took her hand whenever he could, enjoying the feel of her small hand in his. The zoo could have been deserted for all he noticed. Other people didn't exist. Mia was the only one he saw. When they finally found the exit hours later, Ethan turned to Mia. "Are you ready for some dinner?" "There's a quiet place a few miles from here that has seating outside," Ethan asked. "I'd love it, Ethan. It's too nice to be indoors today." Since it was a bit early for the dinner crowd, the host led them right to a table on the deck. The sun came through the trees and sparkled in the decorative fountain near them. When the water filled the bowl and spilled over the edge, it made Mia think of being near a waterfall. She loved it. They lingered over dinner until it became busy and the noise level rose. Ethan escorted Mia to his car and they began the drive back to her house. They never stopped talking, often finishing each other's sentences. Mia enjoyed teasing him and took advantage of it as much as she could. "Would you like to come in for coffee or something cold?" Mia asked when they got to her door. "I'd love to if you're not too tired." "The day was spectacular, Ethan, and I'm not tired at all." They went out onto her tiny patio with their cold drinks and sat quietly. Mia had added a few CDs to her stereo system, and they could hear the songs in the background. She smiled when she heard the Hughes Corporation, but when the Vogues began My Special Angel, she looked up at Ethan. The silent message that passed between them matched the words perfectly. The zoo trip was just the first of many. Ethan invited Mia to a concert his boss gave him tickets for that were impossible to buy. They discovered a mutual love for football and went to several games at the local college. Whenever Mia thought they had been everywhere, Ethan called with more ideas. The days turned to weeks, and Mia knew she loved Ethan. He made her heart sing. It was as simple as that. She thought about him at work and smiled. His talk show was on every morning while she got ready for her day. Often, they discussed the show over dinner, even lightheartedly arguing over the callers. She felt comfortable teasing him about the women who called repeatedly for him. "I heard that woman proposed to you this morning," Mia told him. "You must have been hearing things, Mia. Only men called today." "Oh, so it was a man who proposed then?" She teased him. No. I didn't hear a proposal at all. Are you sure you had my show on?" They laughed and embellished on the topics he used for the show until Mia was in tears. Everywhere they went, Ethan made her smile and laugh. They walked through the park, holding hands and kicking up leaves. Evenings often found them at Mia's place, cooking dinner together, listening to music, and talking. The year was ending and the snow began to fall. Ethan covered for some of the other DJs when a nasty flu bug went around. Mia missed seeing him but knew they needed him at the station. One cold, snowy Sunday, she fixed some hot cocoa and relaxed on the sofa as she listened to his show. This is EW, and tonight I have a question for you. When did you first realize you were in love? What did you feel? Call and tell us how you knew your partner was the right one for you. Mia felt her heart skip a beat at the topic. She thought about calling in, but Ethan was talking again. Boy, the phone lines are blinking tonight. Let's go to the first caller now and hear their story. The first time I saw my wife, she was waiting tables. I saw her walking toward my booth and knew she would be mine. We've been married over 15 years and I love her today more than ever, the man said. Congratulations. Let's see what the next caller has to say. Go ahead with your story, Ethan went on. Mia smiled, knowing that Ethan had something to share too. Ethan continued, this is EW, and tonight I'm wondering, how did you know you were in love? Tell us how you felt when you told your partner for the first time that you loved them. A caller began, did you ever just look at your girlfriend and want to hold her forever? That's when I knew I loved her. I didn't ever want to not be able to touch her again. Our callers all seem to be saying similar things tonight, Ethan said. They knew from her smile, the way she lit up a room, or even how safe she felt around him. Let's hear from another listener on the topic of love. I met my wife when I did a service call on the copy machine at her work, the next caller said. It was almost new and it stumped me when she called with the problem. As I entered the office, I heard her talking to the machine, threatening it. She was trying to put the paper tray in backward. The way she blushed when I showed her the correct way enchanted me. Tomorrow is our 12th anniversary, and we still laugh about that machine. Let's hope there are many more to come, listener. Congratulations. The phones are still lit up, so let's take another call, Ethan remarked. You want to know how I knew I loved him? The next caller asked. He made the darkest day bright with his energy for life. The day he brought me one perfect red rose, I cried. The hug he gave me went through to my soul. That was the moment I knew. Ethan took a few more calls until his show was almost over. Mia listened as he thanked everyone for joining in and sharing a piece of their lives. Then his tone softened. Since so many people were willing to share with us today, I thought maybe I should too. I want to tell you about someone very special to me. Mia's breath caught as Ethan continued. She walks in the rain and talks to the monkeys at the zoo. When she smiles at me, my heart races, and I forget everything else. I'd like to dedicate this song to Mia. Mia held her breath as B.J. Thomas's Hooked on a Feeling began to play. Tears trickled down her cheeks as she listened to the words. A few minutes later, when the telephone rang, she somehow knew it would be Ethan. Mia, hi, Ethan said before she spoke a word. I heard what you said at the end of your show, she whispered. It's true, Mia. Every word of it, Ethan replied. Do you have time to come over? I can fix brunch, Mia offered. Give me a little while to finish up things here, and I'll be there. Don't worry about brunch. I'll stop and pick up a treat. Almost an hour later, Ethan was at her door with a bag in his hand. Mia saw the name of her favorite bakery on it. While Ethan took care of his coat and boots, Mia went into the kitchen, already peeking into the bag. Ethan walked up behind her and laughed when she took a quick swipe at one of the pastries. Mia, Ethan said quietly, come here. She wiped her fingers on a towel before she walked over to where he leaned in the doorway. His eyes smoldered as he reached for her hands and pulled her closer. I love you, Mia. From the moment you fell into my arms, I knew you were special. Every day with you is a blessing. Mia stared into his eyes and felt her heart explode. She knew Ethan was her one true love. Oh, Ethan, I love you too, Mia said as tears ran down her face. 1 year later, Ethan and Mia became inseparable. They spent Thanksgiving together at her apartment. Her mom wanted her to bring Ethan over, but she declined. Ethan had to do his morning show, plus a couple of hours covering for another DJ. Mia cooked dinner for them, and Ethan brought dessert from the bakery. In the afternoon, they watched football and munched on snacks and leftovers. To make it more fun, they chose opposite teams and cheered them on. Mia laughed when her team won, and Ethan told her she cheated. Christmas shopping was something Mia looked forward to each year. When she discovered that Ethan had a long list but hadn't started, she offered to go with him. They walked through the busy malls, holding hands and enjoying the decorations. Soon, it snowed, and Mia invited Ethan to go ice skating. It was a time filled with happiness for them both. One night, as Ethan walked with her to the door, she grabbed a handful of snow and threw it at him. "You better look out now," Ethan warned. "Catch me first," she laughed. With that, she ran through the yard and hid behind an old tree. The snowball in her hand was ready to go as soon as she saw Ethan. After a couple of minutes of silence, she peeked around the trunk, trying to find him. Seconds later, a snowball hit the tree by her face. Before she could retaliate, Ethan was right there, laughing as she tried to keep the snow out of her coat. "I've got you," Ethan said just before his lips covered hers. Mia surrendered to the heat of his kiss and wrapped her arms around his neck. As Ethan pulled her closer, she snuggled into his chest and moaned. The yelp from Ethan when the snowball in her hand found its way down his back had her laughing so hard she stumbled, trying to run away from him. "You were so in trouble," he warned. They ended up in a snowbank, with Ethan threatening to get back at her. Each time his hand moved toward her face, she shrieked. For several minutes, they rolled in the snow like kids. When Mia called a truce, Ethan helped her up, brushing the snow off her. That evening, her mom had invited them over for dinner. After a quick change into dry clothing, Mia packed up the dessert she had prepared earlier that day, and off they went. Ethan greeted Mia's mom warmly. "Nadia, it smells heavenly in here." "Too bad Mia can't cook this well," Ethan teased. "Hey, you like my cooking. Besides, who do you think taught me?" Mia shot back. They talked as they enjoyed the meal. And afterward, Ethan and Mia pitched in to help clean up. Much of the talk was about the upcoming holidays. "Mia has been helping with my shopping list. I'm afraid some of my choices wouldn't have made an impression on anyone," Ethan admitted. "You wanted to buy ties for your boss. The assortment of wines I suggested is a much better idea, and you know it," Mia chuckled. "She's always had a knack for choosing just the right gift," Mia's mom told Ethan. "I love shopping and being in the malls with the crowds. Everyone is searching for that special gift, and the kids are so excited about seeing Santa there." Mia sighed and smiled. "You just wait, Ethan. Someday that will be you standing in line with your kids," Nadia told him. Ethan hesitated for a moment. "I don't think kids fit in with a bachelor's lifestyle." Mia heard the words as she put the last of the clean dishes away. They hurt more than she cared to admit. She was so sure Ethan wanted more from their relationship, just as she did. But his remark made her wonder. Thanks for watching. Have you ever had a life-changing chance encounter? Share in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.